So I have a budget for next year. It's based on, for those that don't know, our fiscal year ends on Tuesday, the 31st of August. It runs pretty much the school year from September to August. And although we haven't finished August yet because August isn't over, we have July year-to-date financials available if you want to look them over. And bottom line through July, we have a loss of $40,000. However, that loss includes, we book a lot of depreciation on this building and on all of the improvements that have been done. I mean, we borrowed $1 million from CDF CAP, $700, $300 to pay the other, the old mortgage, and then about $700 for the improvements that we've done to the building and school. And so we have a lot of depreciation on the books every month. It's like a $6,000 a month expense, but that's not money out of our pockets. It's not money out the door. So if you add that back, those expenses back, we're at a positive $35,000 for the year as of July 31st. So, and I just want to say what helped us be in that position was the original PPP loan that we received back in May of 2020. In February, we applied for the second PPP loan and we were approved, and that money is still sitting in the account. It's there when we need it, if we need it. And we just recently applied for forgiveness of that loan, and actually we just signed off this last week. And so I think we're just gonna, so we can't really spend that money until it's been approved for forgiveness. So that money is there. We don't really require it. I still have about $34,000 from the original PPP loan in cash. So we have all that money's in a cash reserve. And I did pull out $10,000 so we could have some air in here. So that's what paid for all this nice, cool air that you're feeling right now. And then after we get approved, we can have some meetings and discuss what we can do with that money if you don't want to just leave it sit there, because we know we don't want to take this money that's been, given to us and bury it. We want to use it for the church and to grow the church. So, my suggestion would be, first of all, to pay off some debt, to use the money to pay off some of the debt, and because we owe CDF CAP about over $1 million, I suggest that if given any opportunity to pay that down, that we pay it down. So we can maybe use some of this money that for that purpose to pay down the principal of the loan. Okay, so on to the budget. It is basically it's a break-even budget because we're not a profit organization, and it's just pretty much how things have been going, especially through the pandemic. And so in order to come up with the budget, I looked at all of our expenses so far this year and kind of mimicked them and said what would be different, what would be the same, and that's how the expenses went into the budget. On the income side, we're going to increase a little bit of tuition, just slightly, not by much, because of the pandemic and because of the additional costs that we incur. Right now, we're short a couple of teachers, but if we fill in those positions, we'll be ready. Christine will be ready to take on the maximum amount of children. So we actually need someone for the infant toddler room. We've got a list of children that want to come to the school that have applied, but we just don't have the staff to cover. And because of COVID, we have occupancy rules about teacher versus the number of students and so forth. And so on the income side, by faith, I increased our monthly given by from the church about $1,000. We did okay, pretty much to budget from last year, but we could do better. And so I did add some money in there, and that's about it. There's only one item on there for distance learning. So, you know, this is all new because of the pandemic. And so when the schools were all closed, Christine opened up separate little sections for children. Most of them had either, you know, siblings here already or whatever. For them to have, you know, they could sit with their laptops and do their distance learning right here. And their parents could, you know, go off to work and not worry about them. And so I over budgeted that last year, so I budgeted like $88,000, and it came in at just about half. So about $44,000 we took in just for distance learning for older children who needed a place to study because they couldn't do it at home. And so this year, I'm kind of not getting a whole lot of feedback on that, so I went into this budget with zero, so there's a possibility of additional income there. So the bottom line on this last page of this, if you can read it, because, you know, it's really tiny. There's a lot of lines. So the bottom line is a negative 56,000. So that means a loss, but like I said, that huge amount of non-cash expense, if you add that back, will be in the positive about $12,624. So that's what I'm looking at for this year. It's pretty much another break even. This is how things have been going with the pandemic, and you know, you can't expect, you know, a windfall of money, you know, to come from you know, families who are in need and who are in trouble during this pandemic. So the PPP loans have really, you know, they've given us a nice cushion as far as cash-wise goes. You know, we're not going to waste one penny of it. It will be administered properly, and, you know, only if we need it, and the money will go to the right place. So you have a question? Negative. Yeah, I thought I just did. Yeah, non-cash is, like I said, depreciation is like $6,000 a month. It's as much as our loan payment is. So our loan payment right now is about $1,800 goes against principal, and all the rest of the loan payment's over $6,000. So it's $6,700 a month. So on the first of every month, we have to pay $6,700. So about that same amount, there's probably an explanation for that and why it's kind of the same, but I won't bore you with that. So with all of this new construction, we have to depreciate over time these improvements, and each one of the phases of the construction and the building's still we're still depreciating on the building, and so So basically, we have to expense what we spent on the building. And that is just a book entry. We debit expense. And we credit accumulated depreciation. And if you go to the balance sheet part of these financials, you can see down on assets, down at where it says assets. So we have the land, we have buildings, we have improvements, we have landscape, parking, and then we have, it's kind of out of order here because of the accounts, but we have equipment miscellaneous. Now, and then we have some negatives there. Depreciation, improvement, reserve. Depreciation, reserve, EF and F, that means equipment, furniture, and fixtures, like air conditioning. And then a depreciation reserve on the building. So the building, the value on the books is $500,000 for the building because most of it's just in improvements. This is an old building too. So we have depreciated the building by $204,000. So the $817,000 plus the $31 plus the $9,200, we have $213,000, like $214,000 depreciated. So I probably even more confused everyone. So what I want to say is instead of going, the reason I love accounting is because everything's black and white. You have debits and you have credits, and there's no gray area. There's debits and credits, and you have the difference between those debits and credits, and voila, there's your financials. So when we do the depreciation, the debit goes to expense, which is included in our income and expense calculations, and the credit goes to against the balance sheet. So you're reducing the value of your assets every month by this depreciation. But it's not cash money out the door. And so that's why I'm adding it back in to see our true cash basis income or loss in the financial reports.
So it's just really, really, really simple. It's like my car is depreciating every year.
Yeah.
So we can consider
So basically, I'm writing an entry to cover that depreciation.
right, but as long as
Yeah.
everything's working.
Yeah. As long as the engine doesn't fall out, you're fine. That's exactly what it is. So you buy a car for $20,000 and you go to sell it 10 years later, you're not going to get $20,000 for it, right? So this is what this is what I'm doing, and this is why we have and because we spend so much money on improvements, this is why our depreciation is so large.
Thank you, Wendy. I believe everyone has a budget supplied by Rosani. So at this time, I'll open the floor for questions. Wendy and Harry will answer your questions, and then we'll take the vote on the budget after we do the affirmation as well. So any questions at this time on the budget? Yes, Mr. Ray. What's the total of the debt right now? Wendy, Harry? The total debt right now? Mm-hmm.
Once that is given, then that money goes off of the liability page, and we actually bring it in as income. I have to show it in as income.
So the loan itself is about 1.1 million. And then the PPP loan is probably going to be forgiven, most likely. We can't count on it yet, but God willing. Yes. John.
Just on that point, I talked to the guy at the bank, and they recommended, they made a recommendation that it be forgiven, and it's a very small percentage of where the government's going to do anything different.
Yeah, most of the time they take the bank's recommendation. All right. Any other questions? Okay, so at this time, take out the ballot that you have in front of you. And you'll see the list of council members, church council members. That's our current list. So what you'll do is you'll put a check mark there if you want to reaffirm that council member for another year. If you don't, you just leave it blank. And then at the bottom, you'll see there's also a check mark for the budget. If you want to approve the budget as it is presented and it has been approved by council, then you would just put a check in that box. And if you don't want to approve it, then you would just leave that blank. All right, so we'll give you about 5 minutes to fill those out, turn them in, we'll come around and get them. Any other questions before we get started on the budget? I mean on the... Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, why pay attention to all that stuff? So you have ballots from everybody? Is there anybody who has not turned in their ballot yet? Okay. Jojo, you're not old enough to vote yet. All right, that's good. So I'll turn mine in and we'll get to counting, and Devin will do the computation for the online people, and we'll let you know the results here pretty soon. In the meantime, anybody got jokes? All right, may I have your attention, please? Thank you, everybody, for hanging around for the meeting. I really appreciate it. Just want to let you know that the budget is approved as presented, so thank you for that vote. And all of your council members have been reaffirmed for one more year. And Harry would like to have a word before we close. So, Mr. Harry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Harry Hewley. I have a finance background with over 20 years. I'm not going to bore you with the specifics, but I've been coming here to Grace Harbor for 5 months now. I've been training about 4 months and been training with Wendy ever since, and it has been an absolute blessing and a pleasure. I would just like to say a couple things about Wendy. Wendy is one of the smartest, hardest working people that I've ever worked with in finance. And I really say that she has everything right at the tip of her brain. Like it's like just it comes off as clockwork. And I pray and I hope that I can fill the shoes the way that she's done for this church and this ministry and bless it beyond. So I just wanted to thank Wendy for her knowledge and her tutelage with getting me this far. If you would like to see her, she typically works Tuesdays and Thursdays, but the 9th, September 9th, will be her official last day here coming into the building. So if you want to stop by and say hello, just call the church and let them know and stop by and visit her. But September 9th will be her official last day here at the church. She will be here to the end of the month, available to the council members to the end of the month, but her official last day. So I just wanted to say thank you again, Wendy. And I look forward to working with the council and the church. And so thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for those heartfelt words, Harry. I would echo those sentiments. Wendy has been a godsend to us, and we just thank you, Wendy, for all your hard work and efforts and everything that you've done. We really appreciate it. And we are also blessed to have Harry on board. Thank God for sending him our way as well. And we look forward to working with you as well, Harry. All right, at this time, John, would you close us with a word of prayer, please? Amen. Thank you, everybody.